Still broadcasting from the Civic Cypher studios, this is the QR Code, where we share perspectives, seek understanding, and shape outcomes. The man you are about to hear from is a man that I love to hear talk on the phone with his kids. It is just the most beautiful thing ever. He is a Q in the QR Code. He goes by the name of Q Ward.
The voice you just heard is my brother, the R in the QR Code, the captain of this ship, and the glimmer of hope that you guys hear when you listen to the show. He goes by the name Ramses Ja.
Be sure to stick around. We got more show in store for you. We're going to be talking about Hannah Einbinder's Emmy acceptance speech and how that has stunned and made headlines. We're really excited about that. As excited as we can be. We're also talking about how a black student was found hanging from a tree at Delta State University. That's a very sad story, and we're going to get into the weeds there. But right now, it is time for Q Ward's Clapback, talking to us about Karen Attiah, I believe that's how I say her name, being fired for posting Charlie Kirk's own words. Tell me more, Q.
Free speech for me, not for thee. So I like to start with a question, even though I can't hear your answers, and it's more to get your mind to thinking about the question and then seeking out those answers as I try to make a case. What does it say about the state of our so-called free speech when the same people who demand reverence for Charlie Kirk are firing people for quoting him? Yeah, they lower the flags. They issue statements. They praise him as a patriot who just spoke his mind. But if you dare to remind folks of what he actually said, you can lose your job. It's a very different kind of free speech. More like selective speech. More like hypocrisy in HD or 4K. So let's look at the receipts. Matthew Dowd on MSNBC said, hateful thoughts lead to hateful words. Hateful words lead to hateful actions. That was too critical for them, and he was fired. Karen Attiah, a respected Washington Post journalist, simply quoted Kirk's own words to show the double standard, to show the selective American outrage. And after 11 years at the paper, overnight, gone. Employees at NASDAQ, Office Depot, Delta, fired or disciplined for social media posts that critiqued Kirk's death or criticized his legacy. At Clemson University, one staff member was terminated and professors were suspended for posting jokes online. Again, they're champions for free speech. Unless yours just so happens to disagree with theirs, then you should be fired or worse. Trust me, they've called for worse. Meanwhile, Fox News keeps Brian Kilmeade on air after he calls for Nazi-style executions of more than 600,000 homeless people. So again, quoting Charlie Kirk can cost you your job, but advocating for state-sanctioned murder? Well, in their circles, that sounds like job security. This very, very outright and blatant double standard of power. When Kirk was alive, he said that gun deaths were an acceptable cost for the Second Amendment. He mocked victims of violence and built his entire career and his millions on provoking division. But now at his death, he's wrapped in the flag, granted national reverence, flags lowered in his honor, his body transported on Air Force Two. But when critics highlight the irony, when journalists and everyday citizens remind the public of his actual words, they're punished. They're branded as insensitive, unfit, expendable. I've even heard people be called disgusting. So once again, political obedience is what's required. parrot the thoughts and prayers of the right, or learn that speech is not free at all. Conservatives love to shout and complain about cancel culture. When comedians get criticized or when a brand changes its logo, it's a massive outcry. But the actual truth, the loudest free speech warriors are the first to cancel you if you cross their narrative. Again, free speech for me, but not for thee. Reverence for my heroes, but punishment for their critics. If that's the standard, then speech, once again, is not free at all. It's rented, loaned. The landlord, today's political power. And this just isn't about Charlie Kirk. It's about what happens when speech itself becomes partisan property, when truth telling is penalized and propaganda rewarded. We're watching our democracy decay. This is how authoritarian states are built. Not all at once overnight, even though it feels that way, but step by step, firing by firing, silencing by silencing. When you can be punished for quoting someone's own words, then speech has ceased to be about truth and become about blind loyalty. So, as Ramses would say, here's my clapback. If your free speech protections only cover people who praise your side, then you don't actually believe in free speech. You believe in control. If quoting Charlie Kirk is fireable, but celebrating him is patriotic, then I think you can see how the truth itself has become political contraband. And if America's fourth estate can't tell the difference between honoring the dead and silencing the living, then it's not about journalism anymore either. State media with a good graphics department. If you want to honor free speech, start by protecting the truth, even when and if it makes you uncomfortable.
Brilliant. Well said. I wonder, this woman that was fired, I'm guessing she was a black woman.
Of course.
Wow. And she quoted Charlie Kirk's own words. What a world, man. I hope they live long enough to regret that decision. All right. Let's have some dialogue about this black student found hanging from a tree at Delta State University. Okay. I'll share from the griot. The body of a black student was found hanging from a tree at Delta State University early Monday, prompting horror on the Cleveland, Mississippi campus. According to the university's chief of police, the body of 21-year-old DeMartravion Trey Reed was discovered on Monday at approximately 7:05 a.m. local time. Quote, University police was notified of what appeared to be the body of a black male hanging from a tree at Central Campus near the DSU pickleball court, unquote, said Delta State University Chief of Police Michael Peeler, who said the body was later identified as Reed, who was from Grenada, Mississippi. Quote, our community is deeply saddened by this loss, and we extend our heartfelt condolences to families and friends and all those who were impacted by Trey's loss, unquote, said Delta State University President Daniel J. Ennis, reports MPB. The statement goes on to say, quote, I've spoken to Trey's family and expressed our heartbreak, unquote. Reed's death has ignited shockwaves on the campus of Delta State, a public university with a 52% majority white campus and a black population of 36%. Despite online comments describing the death as a lynching, harking back to the U.S. South's well-documented history of lynching black Americans, Police Chief Peeler said the circumstances behind Reed's hanging are still under investigation. The investigation is conducted by the Cleveland Police Department, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigations, and the Bolivar County Sheriff's Office. Quote, as of this time, there's no evidence of foul play. While there's no evidence of foul play, the body has been retrieved by the Bolivar County Coroner's Office, unquote, Peeler said. According to the Mississippi Free Press, Bolivar County Deputy Coroner Murray Rourke who assisted a medical examination of Reed's body, said there was no evidence of broken arms or legs. Quote, I don't think I should probably discuss this any further than that. My opinion is that it was self-done, and I have reasons for that, unquote, said Rourke, despite the death still being an active investigation. A video of the horrific scene was apparently circulating online, prompting a Facebook account belonging to a woman named Lachey Reed, presumably a relative to Trey Reed, to take to the social media account to speak on behalf of the family. Quote, on behalf of respect to our family, please, please, please do not post videos or anything. Just keep us in your prayers. Reed family, Tillman family. The woman posted along with a photo of Trey Reed and family members. What is done in dark will come to the light, she wrote in another post. As a result of Reed's death, classes and campus activities have been canceled. However, the campus did not go into full lockdown. President Ennis stressed that the campus was safe, telling reporters Delta State University is a beautiful place to be. It's just unfortunate that this loss comes heavy to our campus. Okay. All right. First things first. We've talked many times about how there's a kind of strong distrust of police in black communities. It's based on a long history of police just not being decent human beings insofar as black folks are concerned. Lived experience, personal, Ramses lived experience too, of police, abusing their authority and their powers. For the most part, police are just background noise. I don't interact with them. They don't interact with me. But when they want things to go their way, that they can, and there's really not a lot you can do about it. Certainly not in the moment. And because no standard exists, no federal standard exists for policing across the board that is adhered to consistently, because police tend to insulate themselves from consequences of their own actions, etc., and because police outright lie consistently, and the population is taught through what is known as propaganda, the subtle influence of like movies and TV shows and that sort of stuff over years, where police are always the good guys. It's hard for the population at large to consider that what statements the police put out might be flawed or incomplete or a mischaracterization of the events or outright lies. So I say all that to say that when they say this doesn't look like foul play, I'm sure a lot of people say, that's exactly what they would say, right? So to the degree that black people are conspiracy theorists insofar as police are concerned, that is the degree to which police have kind of positioned themselves as the villain in the story of black Americans. Who hangs themselves at 7 a.m. from a tree who is black at a college campus? You know what I mean? It feels sort of weird. And I think the crazy part about this is that it feels super weird because of this current state and climate of the country. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I didn't even remember the number of bomb threats that were called into HBCUs. Maybe you know that, Q. If not, it's of no consequence. There were several. And, there were people calling for civil war, people from the right only, talking about how much guns they have and how they wanted some get back, and now it's time, the Civil War is here, etc. And they turn their sights to black people. And as has been stated many times before, black people had nothing to do. Charlie Kirk, assassination, sniper rifles, none of that stuff. Utah, whatever that school was, none of that. And yet and still, these HBCUs got these calls, bomb threats. You know what I mean? And I know that black Americans, as we congregate, and this has been true since at least the massacre in I think it was Charleston, where Dylan Roof was, and shot up the black church. He went in there and prayed with them and shot everybody up, and then went and got Burger King with the police afterwards. We've been on, I guess, a re-heightened alert that lynching is still the name of the game. I don't think that we ever really backed off of that pedal, but that certainly set me and the people I know off like, yo, this is crazy. So seeing a young black man who's in college hanging from a tree at 7 in the morning on the heels of the right's response to one of their own turned out to be shooting Charlie Kirk feels like somebody might have just taken this moment to get some get back. Let's do like our daddies did and hang one of them from a tree so they know not to mess with us. And so even if, I'm leaning into conspiracy theories and this was, just a young man who was just having a tough time and did this to himself, even if, which I wouldn't, you would have to show me a lot of evidence to convince me of that. But even if that was true, the state of this country, I think, is on full display now because the only thing I think that me and many of us can think of, certainly the people that have been commenting on this story, is that this is a response from a white supremacist, Charlie Kirk supporter who wants the Civil War to happen to Charlie Kirk's death. The last couple of minutes, I'll let you share your thoughts, Q.
So a less than 1 day investigation concludes that there was no foul play?
You know what I mean? Crazy.
Like in less than 24 hours, we've concluded, right after a thorough couple of hour investigation, after a thorough 45-minute look over of the crime scene, we've determined that there was no foul play here.
Yeah.
No one thinks that's a bit hasteful to have already concluded the investigation of this young man's demise? You said something earlier when we were talking about, Black people and reaching the point of doing harm to ourselves. I do not want to give people the impression that that doesn't happen with Black people.
Of course. Yeah.
Especially in today's climate, I could see how someone could feel that level of hopelessness. But by rope, by hanging, by tree, that's where you lose me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as soon as I saw Delta State, I harkened back to Ramses and I on the side of the road at 3 a.m. in Mississippi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, let's see if this investigation turns up any more truth than the immediate dismissal of foul play to the immediate conclusion of suicide by hanging from a tree on a college campus
at 7 in the morning.
Mississippi. That's a hard one for me, Rams.
Yeah.
That's a very hard one for me, bro.
Yeah, same. I know exactly what you mean. But if we don't talk about it, no one will. So thank you for walking that road with me, Q. All right, let's get to some entertainment news. Hannah Einbinder's Emmy acceptance speech stuns. All right, this is from Deadline. Hannah Einbinder lit up the Emmy stage during her acceptance speech after winning the statuette for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series for her work on HBO Max's Hacks on Sunday night. Going over her allotted time, the star made a couple of very timely declarations. Quote, "I want to thank Jean Smart, who is like the sun, and I just want to stand in her warmth. I want to thank the cast and crew of Hacks," unquote, Einbinder said. She continued boldly, quote, "I'll pay the difference. Sorry. Finally, I want to say go birds, F ICE," that's expletive deleted, F ICE, and free Palestine, unquote. The reference to paying the difference reflects a host Nate Bargate's charity fundraiser. For every minute a winner goes over their allotted time with their speech. It's estimated that Einbinder will have to pay $10,000 for her final words, trashing ICE, which stands for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, as well as calling for a free Palestine. The funds will go to the Boys and Girls Club. In the minutes after the roaring applause that followed her closer, a GoFundMe was started on her behalf. Javier Bardem also showed his support for a free Palestine by wearing a Palestinian kefi to the celebration. I think that's how you say it. Or is it kafaya? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But he used his time on the red carpet to say he denounces genocide in Gaza. Einbinder's Hacks co-star Megan Stalter also took a stand by speaking of the importance of using your platform to bring attention to important issues. Quote, "How many hundreds of thousands of dead children need to suffer for people to wake up? Barden told USA Today. So, I, you know, it's entertainment news, I guess, and it's the news of the day. And these people don't have to do this. They don't have to say this. They can take the easy path and just say, "Thanks, everyone. I appreciate my award," and go sit down, and everything else flies under the radar. So the fact that they didn't do that means that we are pointing it out and celebrating it, I suppose. But I want to make sure that this does not become the standard to which all humans who are decent aspire to, because there's certainly much more that people can do. This is, I believe, what a decent person would do. I want to share a quick story, Q, if I may. So we shared recently on the show that you and I, we had a nonprofit, and we fed homeless folks in downtown Phoenix for about 10 years. Okay. We were radio personalities, and then we used our platforms to kind of bring attention to these certain issues, that being one of them. And we did our best to help out: hygiene, food, etc. Once upon a time, a friend of ours, both of ours, his name is Bruce St. James. He had a radio show on a different radio station. He was on like News Talk at the time. He calls me up. He says, "Ramses, I just read about, your hashtag lunch bag stuff, and it might have been Huffington Post."
It was.
Was it? Okay. So he's like, "I just read about that in Huffington Post. I would love to have you come across town to our station and interview you about this magnificent story that I read about." So Q and I, we discovered there was a homeless child that was digging through the leftover lunch bags. And when we saw that, we were like, "Uh-oh, we need to do more than just the minimum here. We need to get this child off the street. There's people with mental issues out on the streets, and there's people with sex offenses, etc. And this is a little girl. We got to do more than just jump into our expensive cars and drive to our comfortable homes in the nice part of town." So we felt compelled to do more. We found the little girl's mom, and we put together a whole campaign with all of our supporters, and we got them an apartment and a place to live and employment for the mom and a bus pass and clothes and childcare and all that sort of stuff. We did a whole thing years ago. Bruce had me up on his show to talk about this. And I remember saying, "Well, thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it. I'm happy to tell folks about hashtag lunchbag, but this doesn't feel like anything that anybody else wouldn't have done. There's no human being that I know that would see a child digging through brown paper bags looking for one that hasn't been eaten yet and think to themselves, 'Oh, this is normal. I don't need to do anything. Oh, this is okay. This is totally fine,' and just leave." That's just, I just can't imagine there being a person doing that, right? So I says to Bruce, "Hey, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this story. But the day that I do what I'm fully capable of doing, then I would love to come up and tell that story. But I did what I was supposed to do. I did what anybody was supposed to do. And indeed, we all did what we were supposed to do. It wasn't even a challenge. I think we emptied out, both of me and you, emptied out our pockets in that moment, if I remember correctly. Any cash that we had, right?"
Yeah, but I don't want you to. So those of you who listen to us on a regular basis, my brother is rainbows and butterflies.
Okay, go ahead.
Saying something like "I did what anyone would have done" kind of ignores the truth. If anyone would
Okay.
have done that,
Okay.
we wouldn't have met the young lady digging through the trash. That wasn't day one for her.
Okay. Yeah.
So, you don't have to pat yourself on the back, but you also don't have to pretend that like what we did was nothing or what anyone would have done, because it's not.
Okay.
People drive by homeless people and children and dogs every day.
Sure. Yeah.
Some do nothing at all. No $1, no juice, no water, no hygiene products, no nothing. So everything that we were doing, you might say, is something that people should do. But the idea that it's what anybody would have done is an almost ridiculous statement.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. I guess my reality is, and I'm surrounded by, okay, this is me talking to you, our listener. I'm surrounded by men like Q. I'm surrounded by, we had other friends. We had, shout out Taji Sharp, shout out Frisco. At the time, he was hanging out a lot. Who else? Matlocks.
Darren
these great
Anthony,
people.
Nick Beam.
There you go. Beamer was there. Yeah, all these folks. So Darren was there. Yeah, absolutely. And so these men and women that were there, Tiffany, Amy, Pineapple Lawyer, like all these folks are all people that would have done this. And so I think perhaps I live kind of in a little bit of a bubble in that regard because I cannot imagine of a person that I know, even on a surface level, that would see something like that, be in a position to change someone's material reality immediately, and then take the steps to like do what it is that they're capable of doing, to just make sure that this child doesn't have to sleep near all these predators and people that are overdosing and people that are whatever. And I recognize that homeless people deserve dignity and they have a long way to go. Some folks have a long way to go, longer than others. But I think that everyone in their heart of hearts feels compelled to protect the interest of a child because children are often blameless in situations like that. And if you're in a position to do more, you do it. So that's how it occurred to me. So your point is well made, Q. Not everybody would have done it because the fact that she was out there suggests that not everybody would have done it. But I think that, in terms of what Hannah Einbinder has done, I want to make sure that we acknowledge that this is something. Like when Bruce acknowledged that I did something, I want to make sure that we acknowledge that this is special. This is beautiful. Anybody that does more than nothing, you know what I mean? We want to encourage you doing something, right? But I don't want to overexalt this to suggest that this is the minimum that qualifies as, or this is what qualifies as like a hero or anything like that. I'm not a hero. I did what I was supposed to do. I don't know that she's a hero. She did what she was supposed to do, etc. So I just want to make sure that I'm kind of coloring in the lines here. So final thoughts, Q.
Before we go, I want to challenge you on that.
Go ahead.
She can put herself at great risk saying the things that she said.
Okay.
I need you to recalibrate and remember what the country's like right now, what the world is like right now. This assassination that just happened was somebody sharing an opinion that someone did not agree with.
So you're saying that because of, and you know what? Now that you mention it, I'll take that.
Putting yourself in the crosshairs of people that disagree with you in the wake of something like that is incredibly courageous.
I'll do you one better.
I'm not going to let us minimalize that. Like, you're right.
No. I think what I'm looking at in particular, because she didn't say anything about the assassination. She talked about ICE and she talked about Palestine. So I was thinking more Palestine. But one of the things I hadn't considered is the fact that there's a significant amount of people that are pro-Israeli in her industry. And so, yes, she certainly did stick her neck out a little bit more than if it had been at any other point in this country's history. And so I guess
think of who else would be offended by ICE and Free Palestine.
Half the country. Sure. Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
So, okay. Recalibration underway. Thank you, Q Ward, as always. And that's going to do it for us here on the QR Code. So today, show was produced by Chris Thompson, as always. If you have some thoughts you'd like to share, please use the red microphone talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. And while you're there, be sure to hit subscribe and download all of our episodes. Also, check us out on all social media at Civic Cypher, particularly on YouTube. You can see how we look. On our personal social medias, you can find me at Ramses Ja on all platforms.
I am Q Ward on all social media as well.
And join us next time as we share our news with our voice from our perspective right here on the QR Code.